Have you ever felt someone's eyes on you before you even looked up? That heavy, fixed stare that makes you lose your train of thought or feel the need to hurry up. That isn't ordinary attention. That's a silencing stare. Narcissists use it to control a room without saying a word. Megan has been caught on camera doing exactly this, a still, unblinking gaze aimed at Harry mid conversation that makes him pull back and stop talking. In this video, I'm breaking down the psychology of that stare. I'm going to show you some clips of Megan doing it and explaining why it works. And at the end of this video, we're going to finish off by talking about what to do when someone tries it on you. But before we begin, here's the intro. Welcome to Revealing the Narc. Join me as I highlight narcissistic traits in celebrities and public figures. Everything here is in my opinion and not professional advice. If you enjoy the analysis, please like and subscribe. Welcome back, everyone. This is the second video in the narcissistic stare series that I've been doing. And in this video, I'm going to talk about the silencing stare that Megan does. But before we get into that, let's define exactly what we're talking about. So the narcissistic stare is a fixed, prolonged, and charged gaze that feels more like a spotlight than simple attention. It isn't about friendly eye contact or active listening. It's about exerting pressure or control without words. Some key features include a gaze that's fixed and prolonged. The eyes stay locked on the target with little or no blinking. It's emotionally flat or mismatched. The face may be blank, tight-lipped, or have a faint half smile that doesn't match the context. There's an intense or piercing quality to it. Instead of warmth or curiosity, it feels as if the person is assessing, judging, or willing the other person to stop. It's non-reciprocal. The person staring doesn't soften or look away when the speaker glances back and the gaze holds. And finally, there's purposeful silence. It's often used in moments when someone else is talking as a silent cue to hurry up, change course, or back down. Now, when we're talking about specifically the silencing stare, it's the intent behind the stare that we're discussing. So in this case, it is a steady, unbroken gaze aimed at someone who is speaking, delivered without words, but intended to make the speaker pause, shrink, or hand over the floor. Rather than showing interest, it acts as a nonverbal signal of dominance and control. Because it lies under the umbrella of the narcissistic stare, some of the key features are things we've talked about, but I want to get a little bit more specific. So again, it's fixed and prolonged. The gaze locks on the speaker instead of shifting naturally. Again, it's a minimal or mismatched expression, often tight-lipped, a faint half smile, or a blank face that feels off for the moment. It's strategically timed. It appears mid-sentence or right as the other person begins to speak. There's also unspoken pressure. The speaker often trails off, speeds up, or loses their train of thought, even though nothing was said. And what is the psychological impact of this stare? It functions as a dominance cue. It silently communicates, I decide when you stop. It exploits our natural social wiring to interpret prolonged staring as a threat or authority, triggering discomfort and self-censorship. It reinforces a power imbalance. The person staring stays composed and in control. The target feels scrutinized and unsettled. And over time, this gaze conditions the other person to edit themselves preemptively to avoid the silent disapproval. Without further ado, let's get into a couple of video clips of Meghan Markle displaying this silencing stare. This first clip is from an interview that Meghan did with Sarah Rafferty while they were both working on Suits. Sarah is asked a question, and just wait till you see Meghan's response. It's going to have some audio, so let's watch it right now.
There's a lot of people who ship Harvey and Donna. Where do you stand on their relationship? Is it more than just friends?
Well, that's so interesting. You should ask.
I left the audio in there so that you could see that the question is directed straight at Sarah. So Meghan knows that she's not going to get an opportunity to speak here. And I think she does the silencing stare to try to get Sarah to tell her story, rush through her story. But if you notice, Meghan also shifts her body, puts her shoulder in front of the interviewer, and is trying to stand in the middle, creating a wall of separation almost between the interviewer and Sarah. It's absolutely rude. Meghan does this all the time where she uses her shoulder to keep people away or to create distance between people. And I think that is exactly what is happening here in this clip. Here is another old clip. I'm trying to go in chronological order. So this one is again while Meghan was on Suits. This is a clip from a Larry King interview that she did. You'll see that Patrick, I think Patrick J. Adams, he will answer the question. And Meghan just always wants to be involved. This one's going to have some audio as well. Let's watch that clip.
I love that stuff.
Yeah.
That's what I have fun. And every time that comes up, I feel like I learn a little bit about the law.
So you can see that Patrick is the one answering the question. The question is directed towards Patrick. Meghan does that thing where she messes with her mouth. A lot of people say that that could be veneers. It might be, but then she tilts her head and she's gazing intently at him. Almost, my impression is to get him to stop talking. It's such an intense gaze. You definitely see that head tilt and intense stare towards Patrick. This next stare is, I want to say it was April of 2018. So this is before Harry and Meghan were married. And this one doesn't have audio, so I'm sure you are also happy about that. But here it is. Meghan is just staring intently at him. The previous narcissistic stare video I did was about her looking at Harry in trying in an adoring kind of way. This one is not like that. And it's because her teeth are gritted and then she almost uses her hair as a barrier between herself and Harry. She just my impression is she doesn't want to be there. She doesn't want to be next to him. She doesn't want to be listening to him. It's harsh. You all let me know in the comments if you get that same impression from this clip as I do. This clip is from July 2018. At this point, Harry and Meghan are married. They're about 2 months into it, and the blinking, the gazing, she doesn't like what he's saying. She doesn't like that he's talking at all. Oh my goodness, it's a lot. This one seems like it goes on forever. This is one I think many of us have seen where Meghan gets angry that her mom steps into the conversation. So she looks at her mom in shock. This is an intimidating stare almost. But what we usually don't see is the moments after that. Notice how Meghan now is gazing at the other speaker. In my opinion, she gave the intimidation stare to her mom. And then when she's looking at the speaker, I think the intent is to get him to stop talking so that she can get the floor again and continue whatever it was that she was saying. Many of you recognize this one as well. So this was, I believe, August of 2024. At this point, Megxit has happened. And I get the distinct feeling that the royal family really kept Meghan in check and her behavior in check, or she felt she had to be on better behavior while she was over there. But since 2020, I don't know what to say. Her body language, her intimidation stares, they're just so much more intense. So here they are at the Jane Pauley interview. So let's watch that clip. As soon as Harry starts talking, she gazes at him. She kind of looks, she's disinterested. It almost looks like she's telling him, stop talking. That's enough talking. She just wants to be the one speaking. We're going to close with the two most recent ones, and this is from the trailer that Harry and Meghan did for the 70th anniversary of Disneyland. And if you watch the actual show, Meghan is the one speaking through most of it, but the trailer, which is compressed into 2 minutes, I want to say, Harry's the main speaker, and I think that tells us a lot about who the world is actually paying attention to between these two. But you'll see here, Meghan is going to try to interrupt him as usual, and she's giving him the stop talking, let me be the one speaking stare. Here it is.
Space Mountain was one of my favorite things.
Still one of your favorite rides, by the way.
This one really bothers me. I did an entire video about it because Megan doesn't have anything really to add to the conversation. And she's reminding him, hey, it still is the one you like, by the way. It's very commanding and it's not adding anything to the conversation. But yet she still feels compelled to have to do it. I think it's the only way that she thought she could insert herself and put herself as center stage. Here's the final clip that we will watch. This clip actually reminds me of the YouTube video I posted yesterday about the deflated souffle.
Right. It's education, right? It's education. And I think all of us can stand behind the value and the importance of education, especially having access to it. But the access to it.
I couldn't use the deflated souffle as an example here because in that one, she's not staring at Harry in order to take over the conversation. She just jumps in and doesn't really look at him. But in this one, you can see Harry's talking, he's mid sentence, and she jumps in. Here we go.
Prepare yourself.
We were just so
You're about
lucky.
to be blown away. Prepare yourself.
We were just so
You're about
lucky.
to be.
She just does it to him all the time. Always needs to be the center of the conversation. And although some of these clips that I showed you, maybe the gaze wasn't as intense as others, but you can still see her goal is to insert herself into the conversation, to interrupt other people and make sure that she is center stage. You can also see that it's very rare for her to be relenting. Even though she might hear someone else speaking, she still has to be the one driving the conversation. I speak a second language, and the phrase that comes to mind that is common in my second language that won't really make sense is that she still had to drive her own donkey forward. And that's kind of what Megan is doing. She still has to be the one driving the conversation in the front seat. She can't let anybody else take over that moment, even if it is supposed to be someone else's moment. This is where the clips end. So let's get into a little bit of analysis. Now that we've talked about how it looks when Megan does it in these video clips, let's talk about how you can apply this practically. So how does it look if you are on the receiving end of this stare? The visual cues include the following: this fixed and prolonged gaze. There's little to no blinking or micro expressions. The face looks frozen or too still. There's an expression mismatch. The look is blank, tight-lipped, or faintly smirking when a warmer or more animated response would fit the moment. It's aimed at you while you're speaking, and it often starts mid-sentence, as if to push you to hurry up or stop. Internally, you might have a sudden self-consciousness or urge to cut your point short. You might feel pinned down, studied, or under scrutiny rather than listened to. You might lose your train of thought or speak faster without meaning to, and you might have a sense that the gaze is meant to hold the floor or reestablish control and not to show interest in what you're saying. Here's a rule of thumb. If the look makes you feel smaller, rushed, or pressured to edit yourself rather than supported or understood, it's likely a silencing stare rather than normal attentiveness. Let's talk about how to respond. Anchor your attention. Shift focus to your own message and not their face. Briefly glance at notes, the audience, or a neutral spot on the wall to break the sense of being pinned down. This stops the stare from hijacking your train of thought. Regulate your body, slow your breathing, and drop your shoulders. This tells your nervous system you're safe. Plant both feet on the floor to feel more stable. Even 2 slow breaths can keep your voice from tightening. Hold your space. If it's appropriate, maintain your speaking pace instead of rushing. Pausing for effect on your terms can break the dynamic of being silenced, and avoid filling the pause with nervous chatter. Calm pauses convey confidence. Have controlled eye contact. You don't have to stare back. Instead, use brief, steady eye contact when making key points, then look away naturally. This shows self-control without engaging in a stare down. Set boundaries if needed. If it's a pattern in a personal relationship, name it later in a calm moment. You can tell the person, when you fix your eyes on me like that while I'm talking, it makes me feel cut off. I need to finish my thoughts without that pressure. If it's happening in a professional setting, you might redirect to the group or keep your eyes on your material to keep the floor. And finally, debrief afterwards. Remind yourself the discomfort you felt was a reaction to a social dominance cue, not proof that your point was wrong or that you are inadequate. This helps reduce the lingering self doubt that the stare is meant to create. Let me know what your thoughts are on this topic. Feel free to share your experience with this if you feel comfortable doing so. The next video we're going to do about the narcissistic stare is the intimidation stare, and we will be getting to that soon. So I'm excited, and I hope you're liking this series, and I'll talk to you all soon. If this was interesting to you, please like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you'll know every time I drop a new video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you're looking for a meaningful way to support something beyond the screen, I'd love for you to consider making a donation to the National Domestic Violence Hotline in lieu of super chats and super stickers. They provide 24/7 support and resources for people in unsafe or overwhelming situations, whether that's emotional, physical, or just hard to name. Their information is on the screen should you need to contact them, and you'll find the link to donate in the description of this video. Every little bit helps, and it means a lot. Thank you again for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.